O's, Dodgers, Yankees, Nationals, Marlins, Rockies, and the Braves and the Twins. How should we be betting those games? You're going to find out. We got best bets coming your way, an analysis for Major League Baseball on a hump day edition. And joining me to break down these games, I got two of the best. That's right, the dog whisperer himself, Bryan Leonard in the house, and two R's, one L, Steve Merril joining us here. So, gentlemen, let's get right into it. Hopefully no wild suspensions today on the card, though the weather doesn't look all that great. But, in that White Sox game, those 4 pitches that were thrown, and then the game gets suspended, so now people are standing there holding tickets if they had their listing started pitchers that are still alive. Absolute mess. So let's fingers crossed that nothing happens with that one. And, Bry, let's start at the end of the card for you here and look at the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Dodgers. I look at the starting pitching in this one, Bry, and it feels like the start of this season, or the first half of the season even, is like ancient history when you're talking about Corbin Burns' numbers. If you look at what he did just in August alone, as we're nearing the end of the month here, 22 runs allowed for a guy who was looking like a true bona fide ace to start the year in just 4 starts. So if he loses today, it's going to be the first time that he's lost 4 consecutive starts in his 7-year career. It's a huge spot for him and the O's here. What do you think as they're taking on the Dodgers in the nightcap?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this game because it was the biggest game. It is the biggest game on the card. You mentioned the weather. From what I can tell, nothing's going to be rained out at this point. But it seems like just about everybody's got a 25% chance of rain in the forecast. The Chicago game yesterday, we had Chicago as one of our plays, and obviously when your starting pitcher goes 4 pitches and will not pitch the next day, that's not a good thing when you've got that guy as the ace of your staff. So, I think it makes you wonder if the White Sox did that on purpose or not. But regardless, if you know it's going to rain, it's going to rain 4 pitches later. I didn't understand that at all. Getting back to the Baltimore Dodgers game, biggest game on the card. The Orioles are really good to us last night. We had them as a sizable underdog. And I think we're going to come right back with the visitor in this one also. Baltimore's been very comfortable on the road this season. 38-26 record. Excellent record away from Baltimore. They're also an outstanding 47-34 versus winning ball clubs. That's better than the Dodgers are. Corbin Burns will take the hill with a 3.28 ERA, 1.13 whip. And we've talked in the past about his advanced stats showing a regression in his future. And as you mentioned, it hit hard. 13 earned runs being scored in only 9.2 innings. And that's just his last 2 contests. But now his expected ERA is at 3.35, which is right there with his actual 3.28. So we think he's hit enough regression now that we could possibly play on him at a bargain price. He's in the 92nd percentile in fastball velocity, 91st in hard hit rate, and 90th in chase percentage. And after those 2 terrible performances, we get to buy him at a bargain price here. And I talk about this a lot. There's no correlation between what you've done recently and what you will do in the future. We're getting him at a really nice price here. And if he were to have pitched, let's say, a month ago, this line would be a lot higher than it is right now. Right now, we're getting basically a pick'em. Yeah, basically a pick'em price. We probably would have had to lay 120, 130 at that point. Walker Buehler making his return from Tommy John surgery has not gone well. A 6.09 ERA, a whopping 1.67 whip. And when you have TJ surgery, control is the last thing that returns. And it's clear he's still working his way through those problems. In fact, if the Dodgers had a healthy starting staff, he wouldn't even be in the rotation. He'd still be down in the minors, or either in the minors or working on the side trying to get himself back into playing position. But you take a look at his rates this season. His whiff rate is in the 2nd percentile. His chase rate in the 8th percentile, and his strikeout rate in the 10th percentile. He's just not pitched well. And, to make matters worse, in his 10 starts, he's only faced 2 teams currently in playoff position, pitching against the Rockies twice, the Reds twice, the Pirates and the Marlins. are not going to prepare him for what he's going to face tonight with this Baltimore offense, one of the best in Major League Baseball. The line is cheap. I know people don't like to go against the Dodgers at home, and they've been very good in that regard over the years. But there's no way with this pitching advantage for Baltimore, we cannot go on them and fade the Dodgers, and especially when you got a guy like Burns, who, as you mentioned, has not pitched well. You know he's going to be right there concentrating on this all week long, and we're getting him at a great price. I love Baltimore in this game.
Bryan, Leonard saying that the recent form giving us a nice little discount here with the dog on the road. The Baltimore Orioles, the look for Bryan Leonard out of the gate. Hop below in the comments. Let us know what games you're looking to bet today, or if you have some questions for the experts here while we got you. We'd love to hear from you. And while you're hanging out, hit that like button, subscribe, and that little bell. It'll keep you notified when we're going live right here. If you're checking us out on social, that follow button doesn't even take a second. And while you're hanging out around it, hit that little heart and give us a like as well. All right, Steve, man, it's funny. Let's talk this Yankees and Washington game, your Washington Nationals, of course. But it's funny because it used to be we would come on here and get to celebrate Corbin Day. Oh, we get to fade the Nats. And the last few times we've tried to do that here on First Pitch, hasn't gone too well. It's kind of starting to become a thing of the past. Through an absolute peach in yesterday's win against the Yankees. And now we're seeing the Yankees looking at the bounce back roll north of $2 favorites in some spots. So the market is saying Yankees bounce back spot here. What do you say about this one, Steve?
Yeah, interesting matchup in Washington, D.C. Once upon a time, my Washington Nationals against everyone's New York Yankees, and the Yankees did fall last night as a sizable favorite with Garrett Cole over Corbin, and that's now back-to-back good starts for Corbin. You know, we always look to bounce back guys after two bad starts. Well, maybe we'll have the fade the bad guys after two good starts angle coming up next week with Corbin. But if you told me one guy would go 6 innings, no runs, another guy would give up, 3 runs, 5 innings, I think we all would have thought Cole had the good outing, but it was the other way around. Yankees did lose 4-2, actually out-hit the Nationals by 1 hit. Of course, they had the easy win the night before. So I do think this is a bounce-back spot for New York with Rodon over Mackenzie Gore. That'll have lefties on the mound at 6:45 Eastern tonight on Wednesday. Different ways you can play this, of course. You could take the money line with the Yankees, minus that 185, minus 190, as high as minus 200. I think the safer play is the run line, minus 1.5, minus 120, gets it down to a much more reasonable price. And never afraid to lay the run line, but especially with road teams, because they do get 9 full at-bats regardless here. So the minus 1.5, minus 120 is appealing. And also the total is 9 in this game, so we should have a decent amount of offense. Yankees are a team that are as good as anybody in baseball. They're kind of slugging through their last 4, 2-2. They're just 5-5 their last 10. But this is still a team that's won 18 of their last 30 games. They're in good current form overall. Nationals are playing hard still, and I do think with the September call-ups around the corner, Dylan Cruz was brought up. By the way, they held off bringing up the number 2 prospect in baseball. Keep in mind, he was the number 2 pick after Paul Skeens, his teammate at LSU last year, because they didn't want him to qualify as a rookie this year. So that's the only reason they held off on Cruz. So this Nats team could be a play-on team over the next month, but this should be a focus spot for New York tonight after the loss yesterday on Tuesday. As far as Rodon, good current form, 2.9 ERA going back to right before the All-Star break in his last 7 starts. Mackenzie Gore, not so much. ERA of 6.0 his last 7 starts since mid-July. So these are 2 pitchers also heading in opposite directions, opposite current form. And Mackenzie Gore is a young starter, don't forget. He's only pitched for a few seasons. These guys sometimes do wear out more as the seasons progress. So take a look at the Yankees here, minus 1.5 run line tonight on Wednesday. And don't forget to check out my Wednesday Night Baseball best bets right now. I'm on a 12-2, 15-3 runs, and that includes missing my play last night by half a run. In fact, 2 of those losses over the last 2.5 weeks were by half a run. 15-3 run, and 2 of those 3 losses by half a run, including last night. So it's not like anything's broke. Still 28-12 over the past 31 days. Number 1 at WagerTalk.com, up 57 units. So check out my daily best bets, but also don't forget about the All Sports All Access, because college football starts big time tomorrow night on Thursday throughout this weekend. Great time to be on board. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And don't forget about the bonus daily free plays. And also click subscribe and click the bell for instant alerts here on Wager Talk TV for when those free football videos are up this week. hit the thumbs up, the like, and comment below because I read all the comments and I reply back.
Yeah, I was watching along with you, Steve, and I felt for you, buddy. I mean, the handicap was rock solid, 6-3 your final, losing by the hook. So, I mean, hey, we all know that's the game that we're playing here when you're handicapping games. Sometimes those half runs give it, sometimes they take it away. So I still think you can stand by it. And also the thing, folks. After any of these plays go live, you can go to your cappers pages and you can check out, show analysis on any of these plays. So anytime that you want to see a breakdown, how did a handicapper end up on this? Why did they end up on this? You can see the analysis for free after the plays go live at the handicappers pages. And honestly, I suggest doing that just not to, see how a handicapper arrived at it. You can learn a lot about handicapping by yourself. Some of the stats you guys put in there as well. So I just think that, and you guys can add if you'd like to, I just think that's a tremendous tool that WagerTalk does, because if anybody tells you they're going to win all the time, they're lying to you, number one. But if you put in the work, you put in the analysis, long term, things are going to go your way. And I think WagerTalk showing that to folks for free is a great little touch of transparency. Would you agree? I'll start with you, Bryan.
Yeah, I definitely do. And there is many times when I am slumping that I will go through and read some analysis from some of the other guys who have been hot, so I could see what they are looking at and what's working for them that is not working for me. Now, luckily, I haven't had to do that very much this season. Steve talked about how well he's doing. And I mentioned this the other day, with football going on, everybody wants to bet football. I was even watching First Pitch the other day, and in the comments, there was more talk about a football game coming up than there was with baseball.
That's
and
a
I
good
couldn't
thing for
understand
us.
it. And I said, I would bet tiddlywinks if I had an advantage. And right now, if you look on the website, Steve, myself, and Tokyo Brandon are just smoking hot. We've been so good all season long, but especially now because everybody's concentrating on football. So I'm getting these great underdog numbers. And, you mentioned your Washington Nationals. I played them 2 days ago, and that's my only loss. I was 7-1, and I had them at a big underdog in that game. And they didn't win, but then yesterday, unfortunately, they did. But it just means that I'm not too far off. I just didn't get a good pitcher performance.
Yeah, and we'll take everyone making their focus over there on football. I mean, we're going to be here on First Pitch all the way through the regular season, so we'll keep chugging along right here. That's for damn sure. Steve, feel free to add anything. The other thing I want to throw at you is this Braves and Twins game. Braves looking for the sweep here in a series that has just been all about overs. I mean, the Braves contributing heavily, but 6 runs in both games for this Twins team who just can't really find a win there. They're just kind of slumping a little bit despite that production. As far as the overs are concerned, though, we're seeing under money in this one. Probably has a lot to do with the fact that we got Chris Sale on the bump, who's on a run of where he's struck out. I think it's 26 across 20 innings pitched. So Sale seeing it very well here today. He's going to be the starter on the bump for the Bravos. Feel free to add any on the conversation we were talking about. But as far as this game is concerned, any thoughts in this one, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, WagerTalk's all about transparency. It always cracks me up when people, anybody can say they're on a 15-3 run, Steve, and that 2 losses by half a run. But yeah, everyone can say it, but also can back it up because like Bryan said, and you said, the last 20 games are visible and they're posted as they're still pending. So it's not like we put these up after the fact. And I think also with my hundreds, if not thousands of clients that are on board on any given night, that if I put up a different play afterwards, that maybe there'd be some backlash on social media. So look, there's full transparency at wagertalk.com. And like Bryan said, you can read the analysis. You said it as well. And you can learn for free. If you're a new capper out there, if you're building your bankroll, read Bryan's analysis tonight. Read mine. Look at how we're handicapping these games. It'll give you a great 101 education, just like we do here on this show. And the other thing I point out, too, is I took it very easy in the preseason. I had 1 game, and I just didn't feel right about this preseason. I think it's really random now with only 3 games. I know Bryan took it very easy. I'm not even sure Bryan did the preseason this year. And he and I are focusing on baseball, and we're making money for our clients. And the one thing I always say, guys, is that the odds makers have to put a lineup on every game. You don't have to bet every game. That's where you get your edge as a sports bettor. And this might be one of those games tonight. We've seen a little bit of early money come in on the Twins. Atlanta opened $1.40. Now it's down to $1.25. The over-unders dipped a bit to 7.5 to the under. Minnesota's a very good team, but Atlanta is a team that could be a play-on team here down the stretch. We saw them do this 3 years ago when they were below 500 for the majority of the season. They got Soler in the trade deadline. They lost Acuna for the season, went on to win the World Series. Maybe history repeats itself. Acuna's out. They picked up Soler again last month. They're now 18-12 their last 30. Twins are 15-15 the last month. They're a 500 team. They've lost 4 out of 5 in 3 straight. So it does look like Atlanta is trending in the right direction right now. And obviously with Sale on the mound, 2.3 ERA since right before the All-Star break. And you got Festa for the Twins, 5.2 ERA, not their best effort on the mound tonight. So you got the better pitcher, better current form, and a team that's very dangerous to fade here heading into September.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the thoughts there from our man, Steve Merril. Hop below in the comments and keep them coming, boys. They're rolling in. We got some questions coming in about the Pirates game. That one going at 12:35, so we'll hit on that one just a little bit later here. The Rays, we have a question for Steve coming up. But first, a couple folks saying that Houston, first 5 might be the look for them as they're taking on the Phils. A much-needed sweep potentially here for my Philadelphia Phillies incoming. But last night, beauty out of Nola, beauty out of the bats, 5-0 win there. We're looking at a 10-ish total here. Astros and Phils. And Bryan, I'll get your thoughts on this one with Walker and Arrighetti on the mound. How are you looking to bet this game? I mean, I'm not sure if I would be rushing to bet the Astros first 5 here, but that's how some folks in the chat are maybe seeing it. What say you? You think we have a live dog here with the Astros?
Well, it's looking to be sort of like a pick'em as of right now. So,
true.
But yeah. In the first 5, looking over it, and I'm not involved with this game today, but it makes a lot of sense to play Arrighetti. He's been very inconsistent all season long. But when you take a look at his advanced stats, I always talk about the strikeout and walk ratio. He's just been dominating for the strikeouts. He had that 13 strikeout game earlier, which put him on the map. He's been very consistent in that regard. So going against Walker, who to me, if they hadn't paid him so much earlier, he probably wouldn't even be in the lineup right now. I would have him pitching out of the bullpen. But yeah, Arrighetti has the much higher ceiling for the first 5 innings than Walker does. Problem is Arrighetti's he's a young kid and he's very inconsistent at this point. So I would say, 5 out of 8 times he would have a really good start here in the first 5. But you also have to worry about the 3. But 5 out of 8 is better than what the line is right now. So slight edge here with Houston with Arrighetti, especially after being embarrassed by Philadelphia the last few days as they really started to hit.
Any thoughts for you on that one, Steve, as some folks are maybe looking towards Bryan kind of agreeing? I mean, if you just look at that pitching matchup, it makes sense. It's just with the Phils, we talk all about the time about how streaky they are, how it really is about when this team is hitting. It's hard to look anywhere else. There's also some folks saying, when the hell are we finally going to get a homer from Kyle Schwarber? They're trying to find the needle in the haystack. It seems like everybody in the lineup is hitting except for Schwarber. So maybe they just need it to be Hoagie Fest. I know that's when he really does some of his best work, is when the Wawa Hoagies are on sale. But any thoughts for you in that one? And if not, we got a question from the chat, but I'll give you a chance to at least touch on this.
Well, we always do our best work when Hoagies are on sale, especially you Philadelphia guys. We all know that. So a little extra cheesesteak there for you. I thought it was a really bad spot for Houston on Monday. I talked about this on WagerTalk today on Monday that, the Astros are not only coming off the ESPN Sunday night spotlight game against the Orioles, but they had to play a very tough road game against Philly. Philly got the win there, 3-2. If you played the money line, you won. If you played the run line, you lost. I said I would actually split it on WagerTalk today and make a -1, so I guess we'll call it a push. But that was a 10-inning game. So back-to-back tough games for Houston. I think it showed in that 5-0 loss yesterday. Whether Philly takes their foot off the gas here in this third game would be my concern. And Houston's still in very good current form. Keep in mind, Dan, they started 7-19 this season, and they've now gone 70-62. So that's 63-43 since that bad start. And that's probably the best record in baseball. In fact, no other team is above 60% for the season. And that would be over 60% the last 106 games. So A tough matchup here for both squads, and maybe Philly takes her foot off the gas, but Houston was in a difficult spot, I thought, last night.
WT.buzz/SM is where you can find Steve Merril. WT.buzz/BL is where you can find Bryan Leonard. A great deal that's going on right now. Check it out over at WT.buzz/deals. It's a great way to get locked in with your handicappers for football season while also getting all access across all sports. You're getting free access. You can check that out again, WT.buzz/deals. It's locked and loaded at any of your handicappers pages with college football nigh, as Steve pointed out, starting off tomorrow. 14-day all access. You can get 20 days of all access service absolutely free if you lock that in. Again, it's over at WT.buzz/deals or your favorite cappers page, and you get their all access included in that. Best bets are coming up. Brian's got a best bet in the Marlins and the Rockies game here. Steve's got a best bet coming up in that early start in the Pittsburgh and Chicago game. So all your Pittsburgh questions will be answered in coming up in best bets, and all the questions coming in about the Marlins and the Rockies, of which there are not many, they will be answered as well in the best bet segment here. As Brian says, I'll bet on tiddlywinks. It might just be what we're doing in that matchup. But, Bryan, before we get into best bets here, we do have some folks wanting to hear about this Diamondbacks game as they're taking on the Mets. I mean, the time is now for Mets. Talk about the time is now for college football. Mets trailing the Braves by just 3 games. There's 30 left to play, so it is go time. And the 8-3 win for the Mets with Pete Alonso hitting is a great start to maybe this final playoff push for them. You see that continuing here in Game 2 against the D-backs, or would you maybe look the other way?
Yeah, I do. I think the Mets are a pretty good play tonight. Luis Severino's bounced back from a trash heap to be a very productive starter for the Mets. 3.84 ERA, 1.24 whip on the season. His average exit velocity is in the 88th percentile, barrel rate in the 85th percentile, fastball velocity in the 80th percentile. In his prime, he was a major strikeout guy. His strikeout rates got as high as 36.4%. And this was just a few years ago. But this year he's finding success despite a 19.6 percentage. So he's becoming more, he was a thrower when he was younger. Now he's becoming more of a pitcher. And when he's healthy, he's been doing very well. He did face Arizona once this year, and the D-backs hit him pretty well. So he's had this game circled because he struggled last time he played them. Veteran Eduardo Rodriguez will be making his 4th start of the season for Arizona. He missed the vast majority of the year being on the IL, and he enters with a 3.94 ERA, 1.25 whip, which isn't bad. But his strikeout percentage is a career low 16.2, as well as his expected ERA is 4.65. So he's been a little bit lucky thus far. In fact, talking about lucky, the 3 teams he's faced so far are all having offensive troubles. Cleveland, Colorado, Miami. And he got to face the Colorado team at home. Didn't have to pitch in Colorado. So no way we want any part of him as a home favorite here, because this will be by far the best offense he has faced so far this season. I think this is a nice profit here on the underdog in this one.
Looking towards the dog and the Mets. Shocker there for our man, Bryan Power, the dog whisperer. Indeed.
No.
Best bets.
Yeah, no, he didn't realize he did it, Brian. I caught it for you.
Oh, did I give him Bryan Power? That's offensive. That's offensive. That's on me. I'm trying to keep up with the comments here. I call Bryan Leonard Bryan Power. That's brutal. That's on me, gentlemen.
Cat
I will
didn't
say,
respond, though, which I find very interesting.
The
cat didn't say a word about it.
That I know, Steve, out of all the Bryans that I know 2 that spell it BRYAN, and both of them are at WagerTalk. So they throw me for the loop. So
it's their parents'
fault.
So
I'm too young to decide, guys.
Yeah, I caught myself there, bro. I said it was your parents' fault. I caught it right away.
Hey, thanks for keeping me honest, boys. That's what it's all about here. Transparency, even when we're calling guys the wrong name. That's what we do here at WagerTalk. That's the name of the game. Steve, the question here from Mike Scott, not sure if he's a regional manager or not. The Rays, he's looking at the Rays' first 5 getting the half run versus Mariners. He specifically said, Steve, Rays plus the half
Uh-oh.
run against the Mariners in the first 5. What's the thoughts for you here, Steve?
So it always amazes me that younger Dan gets the 80s references from me and Bryan. But Bryan, I know you and I instantly, Bryan, who did you think? Mike Scott. I thought Astros. Astros starter in the 80s.
Pitcher for the Houston Astros.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so all right. So I knew Bryan and I were on the same page there. So yeah, when Dan said that, I was like, oh, he went.
You guys think the Astros. All right,
Mhm.
all right.
But I right away pictured Mike Scott. By the way, read up on Mike Scott. If I'm not mistaken, he won the Cy Young like in '86, and he was cheating a big time. What was he scuffing? I think he was scuffing the ball. Wasn't he a big ball scuffer?
They do.
That could be it. So
I'm not talking about ball scuffing on the show today.
I knew that was a good rabbit hole to go down right there. I knew that was coming. But yeah, seriously, if you're bored today, read up on Mike Scott. He's the epitome of and isn't it ironic he was on the Astros 40 years ago and they were cheating even back then? It just shows history doesn't change. It often rhymes. The Rays, this was like I'll use a nice tie in here with the Astros. You know, I talked about Houston got off to that 7-19 start. Well, keep in mind the Rays also vastly underachieved the first month or so. Both teams' bullpens weren't what they used to be. But Tampa, unlike Houston, has been over a 60% team since, is still fuddling. They're exactly a 500 ball club heading into this game. The Mariners are 1 game up. Seattle's a team that actually overachieved for a good part of this season. They've come back down to earth. They probably deserve to be about a 500 club. So these are really 2 mediocre teams battling right now. I talked about this game also a couple days ago on Monday on WagerTalk today. I liked Seattle in that game on Monday. They won 5-1. I stayed off the game yesterday. Teddy's rebuttal, the senator from Nevada, his rebuttal was that isn't Tampa a play-on team right now? He points out that they had, I don't know what it was at the time, they'd won something out of something, but I looked it up. They're still 9-11 their last 20. They're 15-15 their last 30. So this is a 500 club. As I said on the show Monday, just a big picture takeaway. I'd be very careful with Tampa. They're barely in right now. They're 11.5 out of the division. They're not going to win the East. They're going to have to get in with the wild card. They are 6 out, so I think they'll continue to play hard for the next week or so. But come September, if this team is out of contention, which I think they will be within the next week or so, be very, very careful, my friends, because these are the type of teams that often mail it in. A veteran squad that has been in the playoff contention for the last several years. This is not like the Nationals or a young team that has like an up-and-comers that plays hard. So no opinion on this one right now. I'll dig a little bit deeper, but big picture, I'd be careful with the Rays in the month of September.
Keep those comments coming, folks, and hop below in the comments and let us know what your best bet is tonight while you're hanging out down there. Hit that like button, subscribe, and the little bell will keep you notified. If you're checking us out on social, hit the follow button. We would appreciate that. Speaking of best bets, let's hear what the Cappers think about these ones. Bry, we alluded to it, the Marlins and the Rockies, that brutal 9th inning collapse last night for the Colorado Rockies, I'm sure looms in their minds, but now they're looking for a bounce back. And if they do bounce back, Bry, like, don't look now. As long as they don't, if they just got to play at home all the time, the Rockies would be one of the best teams in baseball. If they get this win today, it'll be their 5th home series that they won since the start of July. You think they might do just that, Bry? Let us know about that game and what you have up over at WagerTalk.com.
All right. Well, first off, I want to touch on the game that we just spoke about in Tampa Bay. Rasmussen's getting the start, and he hasn't gotten more than 2 innings in any game so far this year. So it's going to be a bullpen game for Tampa Bay. Rasmussen's been excellent, no doubt about it, but he's only going to go for a couple innings. So if you like the Seattle side, maybe you're better off waiting after a couple innings until they get deeper into that bullpen and play it live. Just something to think about. I've got 6 plays up so far today, including the Cleveland game, which we did not discuss. That'll be an early game, starts, I believe, at 10 o'clock Pacific out here on the West Coast. So we're about an hour and a half away from that one. And in fact, there's a game going off in about an hour. So it's a full day of baseball today. I've got 6 plays up. 7-1 the last 3 days. Just been on a terrific run. Number 1 or 2 for the last month, the last 7 days, last 3 days, season. It's been just a terrific situation. I do have a 4% play up in college football for the weekend, and I'll be putting up more plays for college football today. So they've got that great deal, as you mentioned, buy 2 weeks, get 1 free. This is a great time to do it for all of our handicappers. And don't forget about our baseball guys. We're kicking some ass right now, so good time to build your bankroll. Okay, getting back to the highlighted game of today's card, Miami at Colorado. Now, it's not often we're looking to back the Rockies in the favorite role, but tonight is a great opportunity. Miami, as you mentioned, just had that huge comeback victory last night after trailing by 4 runs heading into the ninth. I believe I saw a stat that they're only the second team that has done that so far in the history of, I think it was the history of baseball, coming up and winning like that. Max Meyer's on the hill for the Marlins. He's got a career 5.68 ERA, 1.38 WHIP, and that's with playing half of his games in a very good pitcher's park. He looked great in his first 3 starts of the season. And then the brilliant idea of the Marlins was to send him to the minors to limit his innings. They sent him to the minors, and he stunk in the minors. He pitched sparingly with little success. They brought him back up. They go, okay, well, now that we're out of any chance at all of making the playoffs, let's bring him up and let him pitch. They brought him up in late July, and he has been horrendous since. In his 6 starts since his call-up, the young Reddy has permitted 24 earned runs and only 29.1 innings of work. And now he's pitching in altitude. Not going to be a good night for Miami. Kyle Freeland, on the other hand, is one of the few starters to pitch better in Coors Field than on the road. He comes in with a 3.86 ERA, 1.23 WHIP in his home games this season. You know, he's always had that knack for having success in this building. He's made our clients a lot of money over the years as a home underdog pitching in Colorado. You took a look at Miami on the season. They have not been good on the road. They haven't been much better at home, but on the road, 23-40. Well, the Rockies are a respectable 30-34 at home. And I would say respectable because it's the Colorado Rockies. And you're getting them as an underdog many times pitching at home. I like Freeland. I think he's very good in this building. And to be totally honest with you, I got Max Meyer on my fantasy team, so I watch every game he pitches. And he finds himself in trouble all the time. I expect the Rockies to really pound him here. I like Colorado. You know, it's tough laying. Colorado is a favorite, but there's no way I want any part of Miami here.
Yeah, and Colorado as a favorite at home is also a different beast. That's Bryan Leonard, WT.buzz/BL is where you can find him, and 6 plays on a huge MLB card. And that's just a man who's gone 7-1 over the last few days. Over the last week, 17-7. So you can use your calculators. That's a 71% run over the last week for our man Bryan Leonard. So seeing it well, check him out over at WagerTalk.com. All right, Steve, he alluded to that early game that's going today. Literally an hour from now is going to be the first pitch with Paul Skeens on the mound. So you know we got a hit on this one with the Pirates taking on the Cubs. Someone in the chat earlier said, even with Skeens on the mound, I find the Pirates a tough team to back. Use some more colorful language than that. But any concerns for you back in this Pirates side with Skeens on the mound, or is that the way that you would look to bet this one, Steve? And also let folks know what you have going on, because it's bounce back time for you as well. You've been on a long-term terrific run, so it's a great time to partner with you heading into football season.
Yeah, you're on a great run when it's bounced back after a loss last night by half a run in which we had the over 9.5, and we had 20 hits in the game, guys. How much would you have liked this, right? How much would you like this pregame? Look, the over-under is 9.5. They're going to have 7 runs in the 5th inning, 8 runs by the 6th inning, and 20 hits in the game. I would have liked it even more than I liked it pregame. It landed 9. It was 9.5. That was the Blue Jays Red Sox game. So that dropped me to 15-3 the last 18. And by the way, your Phillies about a week and a half ago, and they blew that 2-0 lead and won 3-2. I had a run line, not money line. Would have won with money line. And that was that other half-run loss. Some people were asking, which game was that? So look, the big picture takeaway is don't live and die by these single game results, these daily results, right? Lock into a direct subscription. Bryan mentioned the great special right now. Buy 2 weeks, get the 3rd week free. A baseball and football combo is the way to go, because Bryan and I are both crushing it in baseball. And we will start focusing on football now, so you want to have that also. And football starts in full swing tomorrow on Thursday. By the way, I passed last week in week 0. I don't acknowledge week 0. I'll wait for week 1. College football best bets will start. So you have not missed anything, and you have missed a lot if you haven't been playing the baseball. 15-3 run continues with some baseball tonight on Wednesday. And then football starts tomorrow night on Thursday. Don't forget also free play videos. Did a couple yesterday for some games this weekend. I'll have my top 25 video later this week. There are a couple top 25 matchups this weekend. So hit subscribe, click the bell for instant alerts as well. free play in this early daytime game for the live viewers in 1 hour here at 12:30 Eastern. I do like the Pirates in this game. Now, look, there's a couple different ways to play it. We can play the minus 165-ish on the money line. I think the run line minus 1.5 plus 120 is a better option. Or as I've often talked about, you can play half a unit on each if you don't have a -1 and make a -1, minus 120. That'd actually be my preferred play here, because then if it lands on 1, which is possible with the Pirates, weak offense, you get a push. So -1, minus 120 is the best way to play it. You can make your own -1 by half on the money line, half on the run line. But Skeens is backable. He continues to pitch well down the stretch here. We'll see if they put him on the shelf in September. I probably personally would. Why stress him anymore? Because this is the guy that's obviously on a pitch count. And the second time he played the Cubs, his second start ever back in May, was a perfect example. He was very mediocre against the Cubs in his debut. People forget that. What was it? I believe 3 runs allowed in just 4 innings. And everyone thought, the Chicago Cubs are seeing him 6 days later. They're going to hit him even harder. Well, Skeens hit a 6-inning no-hitter before they pulled him. And then, of course, a little bit later this season against Milwaukee back in July, they pulled him after a 7-inning no-hitter. So this guy is lights out. He's still in good current form. He's actually won his last 2 starts. Pirates have hardly won any other games during that span. So this is when you back the Pirates. And I think the -1, minus 120 run line, the adjusted run line, is the best way to do it. But however you play it, I like the Pirates in this early start here at 12:30 Eastern.
The Pirates, the play for our man Steve Merril. WT.buzz/SM is where you can find him and Bry going with the Colorado Rockies today. That's the free best bets. You want the true best bets, head on over to these guys' page and check them out. Big thanks to those tuning in. Whether you're live or on the rewatch, hit that like button. It's a great way to show appreciation for these guys dropping free plays here for you. And don't go anywhere, folks. Just about 20 minutes from now, Wager Talk today, live right here on the Wager Talk channels. You got Ross Benjamin, who joined us yesterday. We got Andrew McGinnis and Art DeCesar from the Westgate joining Teddy Covers and the Prez. And also, if you didn't need a reason to subscribe, Bet on It, College Edition. They don't acknowledge Week 0 either. I think that's the best way to do it, Steve. But Week 1, College Football Edition of Bet on It, Marco D'Angelo, Joe Ranieri, Kelly Stewart. We got some new specials coming your way in that show. Maybe a little bit of gold from our man VR TNA with Ralph Michael. Some prop action once we talk some NFL. So Bet on It is back, baby, and we're excited for it. And with the single game videos, guys, just hit that subscribe button and the bell and hit follow on your social channels, and we'll see you in your timeline. Best of luck, everyone, until we talk to you next on Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. here on the West Coast for another edition of First Pitch. Until then, best of luck, everybody. Cash those tickets, and we'll see you next time.